They waited quietly. Then Tigtoes heard Squimps muttering, "Ah, froggies, 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 come and see your Squimps. I don't mean you any harm, so don't be afraid. I only want to play with you." And he sniggered into the back of a large front paw. "I think," murmured Tigtoes, "that you are using the wrong sort of charm. I fear the frogs will not recognise the birdie style of charm, which isn't very effective with the birdies anyway." Suddenly the frogs all jumped unexpectedly, leaping off across the pond and submerging themselves in the cool green depths. The ginger nuts were startled. Squimps lost his balance and tumbled onto the lawn. He scrambled to his paws and looked round for Tigtoes. But where was he? He was nowhere to be seen. Had he fallen into the pond? The frogs had made such a splash, it could have hidden the sound of Tigtoes falling in as well. Squimps apprehensively approached the side of the pond, just by the empty flower pot, when suddenly, "Ribbit, Squimps!" and Tigtoes sprang out from the bottom of the pot, where he had been hiding, and doing his best imitation of a frog, shouted "Ribbit, Squimps" into his brother's ears. Squimps was startled for the second time that day, but soon saw the funny side of it, and rolled on his back in the grass, kicking all four paws in the air. "Meow, Tigtoes," he chuckled. "That was a good one. I thought a large ginger frog had come to get me." Tigtoes tried to pull his brother's tail, and the ginger nuts raced round the lawn trying to catch one another. They eventually exhausted themselves and went to recline underneath a rockery lavender bush to recover from their excitement. After a peaceful catnap, stretched out in the sunshine, Squimps opened a lazy eye and turned to his brother. "You remember telling me a little about that birdie book," he said. "Well, what else does it say?" Tigtoes, who had been dreaming about different flavours of cat food and wondering if there might be a frog flavour, took a moment to collect his thoughts. "It says where birdies like to live and what they like to eat," he said. "Also, the different songs they sing." "Does it give recipes?" interrupted Squimps. "Squimps," retorted Tigtoes. "There you go again, always thinking of your tummy." Squimps looked put out. "I think," continued Tigtoes, "that if we were to study the different languages the birdies speak, and to learn who they are, we might be able to charm them a little more easily." "Oh, goody," said Squimps, much pleased by this idea. "We'll find the book and examine it after lunch. Come on." The ginger nuts bounced back up the garden, flew in through the cat flap, which old master had mended for them recently, and went to cajole a lunchtime snack out of old mistress. Having told them that they were supposed to only have 2 meals a day, she relented and gave them a few cat biscuits. Tigtoes spent too long trying to decide whether the last one was mackerel or pilchard flavoured, and Squimps pinched it from under his nose. They ran off upstairs, and having found suitable places for an afternoon nap, settled down to study the birdie book. Later that afternoon, much refreshed by a long nap, and eager to apply their new knowledge, the ginger nuts stealthily re-entered the back garden. A group of small brownish birdies were sitting in one of the trees. "Sparrows," suggested Squimps. "Yes, I believe so," answered Tigtoes. "Tweet, tweet, 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 tweet," said one of the sparrows. "What did it say? What did it say?" asked Squimps impatiently. "Well," said Tigtoes, "if my translation is correct, it said, 'Quick, chaps, let's clear off. There's 2 rotters of cats again.'" The ginger nuts stared at each other in puzzled amazement as the sparrows flew off in formation overhead. "Well, I never," said Squimps. "Bless my solar whiskers," said Tigtoes. "I think we have a lot to learn." Just before their evening meal, Squimps noticed that Tigtoes had gone inside to rub round old master and mistress's feet to try and get tea a little earlier, so he decided to practice some of the knowledge he had picked up from the birdie book. He climbed his favourite tree, hid himself behind the leaves, and settled down patiently. After a while, a handsome blue and yellow birdie alighted on the end of Tigtoes' branch. Thought Squimps. "A blue-tit, if I am not mistaken." He started to inch along the branch, and found that the bark was rather rough on his tummy. He cleared his purr box and started to charm the birdie in what he hoped was a reasonable attempt at blue-tit talk. Blue-tit, blue-tit, blue-tit. Come and see your squimps. I don't mean any mischief. You'll be quite safe with me. And he stifled a snigger with the tip of his curly tail. The blue-tit turned round sharply, clearly astonished to find a long-forgotten dialect of his language being used by such a strange-looking, large, furry being. Squimps eased his way along the rapidly narrowing branch, whilst the blue-tit, mesmerised, stared deep into his eyes. The sparrow formation passing overhead assessed the situation and took immediate action. Tweet, 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 they shouted in blue-tit talk. Squimps reckoned afterwards to Tigtoes that this exclamation, which he roughly translated as "Cattle, danger, danger," pushed him into action too soon. He pounced to the end of the branch, but the blue-tit, forewarned by the sparrow squadron, took to the air and easily escaped. Squimps missed his paw hold, and with a large, huge meow, sladoosh, fell into the middle of the pond. Tigtoes, hearing the commotion, left his meal and came running out. He was heartily amused to find his brother paddling round the pond with waterweeds trailing behind his ears. "Meow, Squimps," he shouted. "What are you doing, looking for frogs again?" A very wet, soggy and bedraggled Squimps was helped from the pond by his brother and assisted into the house, where old mistress found a towel to soak up the worst of the wetness. Then, after a large meal with some extra titbits on top, young mistress took him upstairs and bedded him down in her doll's cot. She looked through her pockets and found some of the chicken she'd eaten at tea time. Squimps allowed himself to be consoled. Tigtoes wanted to know if the chicken bits weren't a little fluffy. "You hardly notice if you chew quickly," said Squimps. "I expect you could always pretend to be a raccoon, like those we've seen on the moving picture box, and wash off the fluff in the pond," laughed Tigtoes. "Please," implored Squimps, "don't talk to me about ponds. It's time for bed." Good night, Ginger Nuts. Bye-bye, Tigtoes. Bye-bye, Squimps. Sleep well. You can email the Ginger Nuts at squimps@btinternet.com. There is also a Facebook group called Louisa's Ginger Nuts, and upon Mr. Squimps' shop on eBay you may buy this book, a printed version. It is also available on Amazon Kindle for a download. Thank you. Goodbye.